So it's the end of the season and I want to start preparing for Championship 2021-2022. But before I do that, there's a burden I need to get off my shoulders. Yep, reacting to my old table predictions. This is going to be a car crash, but let's do this. What's up everyone, welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. It is the big one. It is me reacting to my championship table predictions, what I did all the way back in September before a ball was kicked around in the championship. And it's fair to say there were some predictions that were better than others. And what I aim to do is to get more from the one correct prediction I got from last year's table predictions as well. If you guys like what you see, please make sure you do give this video a like, it's tremendously appreciated. 20 likes for this video would be great. Please subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. It really make my day. We want to try and push to 600 subscribers, and please share my channel as well. Without any further ado, let's get straight into this. So to start things off, in 24th place, I put down Wycombe, likewise with a lot of other championship YouTubers as well. Following their really poor start to the season when they lost 7 games in a row, we were already having debates thinking if Wycombe were going to be the worst ever championship team. We were thinking that, are they going to overtake Rotherham's lowest points total? But to be fair to them, they got their act together. It took them a little bit of time to adjust, but eventually they started competing in this league. And I think out of everyone in the bottom 3, if Wycombe had actually had a couple of extra games, I think they would have survived, because they started to get some consistency and a good bit of momentum. But unfortunately, they were 1 point of safety. They fall just short. They finished in 22nd. I predicted them 24th. 2 places wrong. I wouldn't say that's a too bad prediction, but I'm not going to give myself any credit from it. In 23rd, I had Rotherham, and that's my first correct prediction in this table. And likewise, last year, I also predicted 23rd correctly as well. With Rotherham, I feel like they would have wanted to try and establish themselves in this league and get rid of this mentality of them Euroing between the divisions. Their squad for me was strong enough to compete. I was just a bit concerned whether they were going to be able to compete with the competitiveness within the bottom 3. And especially at the start of the season, I thought Rotherham actually did have something about them that they can definitely survive in the season. But I do think the tight fixture schedule, and for how exhausting it got to the players and following the COVID outbreaks, I did think it did affect the whole momentum of the squad. They miss out on safety by 2 points. They will be going back to League One. I do wish Rotherham the best of luck though, because I do think they definitely had a real good go at surviving the championship this time. 22nd place, I had Sheffield Wednesday. So I actually got the bottom 3 spot on, just in the wrong order. So obviously Sheffield Wednesday finished rock bottom. I needed to swap Wycombe and Sheffield Wednesday around to get a perfect bottom 3. This was under the intention that Sheffield Wednesday were having a minus 12 point deduction, and even then I still didn't think they would survive, even though it reduced to 6. With that form, it just wasn't enough. And their whole season was just tumultuous, having 3 and 4 different managers in that squad. Gary Monk started things off not too good. Tony Pulis, you thought that maybe Sheffield Wednesday could recover, but having him in was a disaster. Obviously, I had Joe Thompson for a bit, and eventually when Downmore came in, they did sort of improve, have a sort of recognisable style of football that they can chunk out results. But even there, that small bit of inconsistency just really got to them. And now Sheffield Wednesday relegated for the first time in 10 years. We move on to the survival teams. I've gone for Coventry in 21st place. Now, I'm looking at this prediction, seeing 5 positions off, not great. In my opinion, when you're more than 5 places wrong with a team, you've done it quite wrong. But I've got to be honest with you, even with that, I'm still not too disappointed at that, because there was a stage in around March and April time where Coventry were going to finish there. There was even danger that Coventry were dragged into the relegation battle and they could potentially go down and get relegated. But Coventry managed to pick up their form at the right time, picking up 3 wins in a row, and managed to get up 5 wins in their last 7 championship matches. And following that, it actually got them to finish in a reasonable mid-table position in 16th place. I did predict that they'd do the best out of the 3 newly promoted sides, so I was spot on with that. 20th place, I'd gone for Luton Town. This one I got a little bit wrong. This is definitely my worst prediction so far. Obviously, Luton finished in around mid-table, 12th place, bang slap in the middle. This prediction was wrong for me because there was never really a time in the season where Luton were dragged into the relegation battle for me, even though they had a difficult spell in around February time. they managed to pick themselves up and consistently stay around in the mid-table position. There wasn't any thoughts of them flirting around with top 6 or anything, but staying around mid-table is exactly what Luton consistently stayed at, and that is how they finished. And you've got to give Luton credit as well. They actually had 2 million operating profit as well. So there's some big things going on with that club, and I'm really excited to see how they progress in the future. 19th place at Huddersfield. This was so frustrating, so close to another correct position, but I'm one position wrong for this. So I'm not going to beat myself up too much about it, but I do think a lot of people predicted with the sudden change of philosophies between the Cowleys to Carlos Corberán, from defensive pragmatic football to highly expansive attacking football, it was going to take Huddersfield time as well. But I also think what didn't help was long-term injuries to Fraser Campbell and Josh Koroma. That really didn't help the squad at all, really. Huddersfield have got a load of decisions to make within the summer, and I feel like they're going to have to be very brave if they want to try and progress up the table next year. So we've gone through the first quarter of the table. Not too bad at the moment, but we don't need to look at 18th place. No, I don't want to, but I'm going to have to anyway. Right. My first real big stinker, I put Barnsley down in 18th. Yes, that's right, laugh at me, call me all sorts what you want, but let me tell you this, how many of you actually predicted Barnsley to finish in the top 6? I couldn't have ever predicted the turnaround that Barnsley would have. I imagined under Gerhard Struber, he would chug out a couple of results and he'll get Barnsley to progress a little bit. But blimey, they survived on the final day last season, and in dramatic style as well, literally the final minute of the game against Brentford as well. But the improvement this team has gone on, and just getting Ishmael in after Gerhard Struber was linked with another job away in America, they just looked a completely different team. And what they also did well was the January transfer window, getting Carlton Morris and Daryl DK. Both of them on their own have projected Barnsley with that potential and that momentum to get into the top 6. I mean, Barnsley could play Premier League football next season. A team that just scraped survival last year, which is absolutely crazy. So good on Barnsley. A lot of us got this prediction wrong. Then is followed by another pretty bad prediction. I got Reading to finish 17th. They finished in 7th. A lot of people actually did have Reading as a dark horse. I didn't see it. I just looked at that squad saying it should be up there. And I remember saying it in my actual predictions video that they can definitely achieve up to first place or to relegation. And it's really difficult to predict Reading. And at the start of the season, when I was 7 points clear from second place Bristol City at the time in November, I thought, you know what, they might wrap this up, They might prove me wrong and get me 16 positions wrong. But obviously their form did drop pretty much in around December time, where fixtures got really, really busy and they started getting more consistent injuries. They still picked up their form a bit, but after a tough set of fixtures in the end of the season, it got them to finish outside the top 6 in 7th, which may be a disappointment to them, but is a big improvement from last season. 16th place I had Queen's Park Rangers. Once again, not a pretty good prediction if you look at it, but I gotta be real. In the first bit of the season, I actually think 16th was actually the place that Queen's Park Rangers were at. I think this was spot on, especially in around the turn of the year. But what Queen's Park Rangers did well was the January transfer window, getting in Charlie Austin and Stefan Johansson being 2 great examples. Both of them have really helped with Queen's Park Rangers' run of form. There was a bit of pressure over Mark Warburton's job. Fair play to Queen's Park Rangers. They stuck by him, they had faith, and actually it rewarded them well because they finished 9th. Unbelievable, 7 predictions off from what I predicted at the start of the season. In 15th place I've gone for Birmingham, so only 3 positions off. So you may think that's not bad, but the thing is, did they really ever look like that they were going to finish around 15th place? Unfortunately, no. I had this impression that Aita Karanka was going to get them into a really comfortable mid-table position and compete in around the teams around them. And when you looked at the squad, the Ivan Sanchez, Jonathan Lecco, Jeremy Bella, Scott Hogan returning, and with a fresh start, maybe he could have had the form he had on pre-lockdown as well. So I looked at that squad thinking, this squad could do great things, but it just never looked that way, didn't it? So obviously, in the end of it, they finished 18th, going through a miracle run of form under Lee Bowyer. And you would argue, for how quickly they had survival compared to other seasons, it'd be a better season. But compared to the football that they were playing and the predicament that they were put themselves, it's been a pretty bad season for Birmingham. In 14th place, I had Blackburn. Now, this is also frustrating. Also, 1 prediction off. So again, antagonisingly close for some of them. And Blackburn, in the back of my mind, I felt really had the potential ability to get up there, even in the top half of the table, even pushing for top 6. The signings they made have ultimately been ridiculous, especially getting Harvey Elliott in, who's had over double figures in assists this season, but also to have one of the best strikers in the Championship, Adam Armstrong, to get 28 goals. To have that quality and finish 15th, Blackburn have completely underachieved, in my honest opinion, with some of the players that they got. And even with some of the performances they put out on the pitch, they've just been really lacklustre, pretty much at the turn of the year, actually, in the start of 2021. I do think when they picked up their home form in the end of the season, I think it did paper over the cracks a little bit. I could see Tony Mowbray, if he has a slow start with Blackburn next year, he'd be a manager that'll be swiftly leaving the club. 13th place, I had Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough finished 10th, so I was 3 predictions wrong with Middlesbrough. This one was a little bit off, because I think Middlesbrough did flirt with the top 6 in around November time. They were firmly in there, but then their form dropped. All of a sudden, they went through 5 home games without a win, and then that really stuck down for Middlesbrough, and they just couldn't recover since, really. There were just too many inconsistencies in their run of form, which is a bit unlike Neil Warnock, to be honest with you. I think especially with another transfer window, you would hope to see from Middlesbrough, with the squad that they have, they can get up there, especially if they can keep some of their loan transfers like Balassi and Niskins Cabano. Their squad next year could be absolutely ridiculous. One team that let me down a bit this year was Bristol City. I predicted them to finish 12th. And I also remember they made some last minute signings. Literally when I posted my predictions video, they got Steven Sessegnon, they had Chris Brunt as well, signed on the day when I did my predictions video as well. So I was thinking maybe that I predicted Bristol City to even finish too low. But it turned out that wasn't the case. And I put them there based on the inexperience of Dean Holden, and ultimately I think it did catch up onto him. Obviously Bristol City had a fantastic start, but then around November time their form started dropping, and then they just couldn't recover. Dean Holden eventually left the job when Bristol City were tailing in around the mid-table position, about where I predicted them actually. Nigel Pearson came in, got some pretty good results to start things off, but then their form just completely collapsed again. And obviously they finished in 19th place, their lowest finish in the Championship for quite some time actually. And in terms of performances go, they've been one of the lowest performing teams in the Championship in the final tail end of the season. Going into next year, they can be a team in danger of relegation, especially if they cannot get the transfers in. 11th place, I had Preston North End. They finished 13th, 2 positions off this time. So getting antagonisingly close a lot of the time. Obviously, I had Preston down in 11th with the intention of Alex Neil trying to work his magic again. I knew a load of the key quality players, almost like the golden generation of Preston, were going into the final years of their contract. So it was almost like a now or never time for Preston. But I knew it wasn't always going to be easy. Even when they had the opportunity to try and get into the playoffs last year, they had their fall off and their inconsistencies. And I just thought that was going to happen again. And likewise with Blackburn, in the turn of the year, Preston's form just completely deteriorated. They started to be creeping into a relegation battle. Alex Neil, of course, left. Frankie McAvoy took over temporarily, managed to get pretty much a good game every time he was manager, minus the Brentford game. Compared to where they were when Alex Neil was sacked, that's actually not a bad finish. And following his performance, Frankie McAvoy has been appointed Preston boss. How do I feel? I don't know whether it's a bit of a safe appointment or if it's a bit of a risk, because McAvoy has not been someone that's been taking managerial reins that often, but it's clear with the change of style that he's managed to get Preston to play a different sort of football that Preston are normally used to. If they can work with him, then maybe it could be a good appointment going forward. 10th place, I had Stoke City. I was 4 positions wrong. Stoke tend to be a team that a lot of people get wrong. I didn't think that they would get into the top 6, but I was well aware with the quality that they did get from the transfer window, they should get up there. But alongside with Blackburn, another underperforming side in my opinion. I think for most of the season they flirted in chasing for the playoffs, but they never really looked like a side getting into it. So 10th place, I don't think that was actually a bad prediction based on the majority of the season, but of course their form really dropped when ultimately it was mathematically impossible for Stoke to get into the top 6. So thank you, Stoke, for the fact you didn't try in the last couple of games. That's why I got your prediction wrong, so thanks for that. 9th place, I predicted Bournemouth. Now, you could look at this saying, you know, you got this so wrong. Bournemouth, of course, were going to finish in the top 6. But you've got to think of the season. This was a Bournemouth team, obviously, in terms of quality, I think too good for the Championship. Dan Zuma was already scoring plenty of goals in pre-season games. He scored a hat-trick, I think, against West Ham. And I was thinking their squad was going to be so exciting for the Championship. But they had Jason Tinder as a manager, and I just really wasn't sure about the longevity of it. And obviously, whilst he did manage to chug out results occasionally, especially at the start. It did catch up to him, and I remember the first defeat that Bournemouth had as well against Sheffield Wednesday, where they were very lackluster, and after that defeat, they started creeping in more defeats. There was that 4-2 home defeat against Preston as well. Jason Tinnell was eventually sacked when Bournemouth fell out of the top 6. Jonathan Woodgate took over, and actually following the managerial bounce, that is how Bournemouth managed to get into the top 6 eventually, and they managed to secure it pretty comfortably in my opinion. But I do think if they stuck around with Tyndall, I think 9th place would have been fulfilled, so I don't think that was a bad prediction by me. But now we go to 8th, and I had an absolute disaster of a prediction. We had Barnsley 13 places off, but this is even worse. I had Derby to finishing 8th. Oh my god. What on earth was I thinking? I think I was just so confident that Philip Koku was going to take this Derby squad places. I mean, in the tail end of last season, Derby looked like that they improved their form. Wayne Rooney playing as a midfielder looked like that they were starting to score more goals. Obviously, they actually sold Jayden Bogle and Max Lowe on the day I did this video, and I said that I wanted to move Derby a couple of places lower, but by that time it was too late. I already submitted my predictions, but I didn't think for 1 minute that they would narrowly avoid relegation, literally by the skin of their teeth, relying on teams not being able to capitalise on Derby's poor run of form. They lost 6 games in a row. Very lucky to stay up in my opinion, and obviously a lot of turmoil going on at Derby going on, especially for the fact that it looks like that they've been found guilty of their charge from the EFL in relating to player amortisation, so that could result in a points deduction. We could find out in the next couple of days as well. So I'm not too fond of their chances, to be honest. From a bad prediction to a pretty good prediction, I predicted Cardiff to finish 7th. Once again, 1 position off. This is getting so frustrating now. But I tell you what, the amount of flack I got for not predicting Cardiff to finish in the top 6, I knew, even with that squad, even when they got into the top 6, I didn't think Cardiff were performing that well. But of course they were performing quite well, but I just didn't think at the level of 6 other teams in the Championship. Even with the signings, which I think they made some great signings, Harry Wilson, Kiefer Moore being the 2 best ones, but even Shea Ojo and Georgian Asai Tutu, I also think all those signings should have really propelled Cardiff to at least get in around 7th place. Of course, they had their terrible start under Neil Harris. They really struggled. Mick McCarthy came in. I wasn't too sure on the appointment, but you've got to give him credit. Cardiff went on a really long unbeaten run. I think it was 12 games. Cardiff were unbeaten, and at one point they were in the top 6. Of course, they did have some difficult games in the running of the season, and ultimately losing 1 too many games has got Cardiff to finish in around 8th place. But that's not too bad. I actually think that's quite a good prediction despite not getting the correct position. We now move on to the top 6, and I predicted Millwall to finish 6th. I completely forgot I got Millwall to finish in the top 6. Why did I predict them to finish in the top 6? I think I must have got really overhyped by Troy Parrott, but also with some for signings and even the turn of form they had as well. I remember last season they started quite slow, but then under Gary Rowett, he really turned things around. And I thought he was going to do the same, and with a full season, I thought Gary Rowett was going to take teams to the top 6. You know, he's renowned for doing that. Of course, he did it with Derby. But this year, Millwall just fell short. And Troy Parrott's just not being the player I thought he was going to be. I had in mind with the 2 Spurs loanees, Skip and Parrott, thinking of a debate who's going to have the better season. Both have had entirely different seasons. Parrott has been injured and just barely not featured in the squad at all. And of course, he got recalled and was now on loan in the league below in Ipswich Town. So, yeah, pretty disappointed about my prediction for Millwall. It's not the worst position-wise, only 5 places off. But either way, for the fact I predicted a team like Millwall to get into the top 6, yeah, it's not great. I think I predicted Millwall to be the equivalent of Barnsley for this year, but of course I predicted wrong. 5th place, I'd gone for Swansea, 1 position wrong. Yet again, so very, very annoying I got that wrong. But I think with Swansea, I think the reason why I got them to finish 5th but not any higher, I just wasn't too confident with the transfers. I wasn't too sure how Jamal Lowe was going to hit the ground running. They're going to have to heavily rely on Andre Ayew again, who is not the youngest of players much anymore. But of course, Andre Ayew is playing more centrally now, Jamal Lowe operating more on the wings. But I think their defensive record is why Swansea were up there. I couldn't have predicted how well Swansea were going to set up under Steve Cooper. So fair play to Swansea, you proved me wrong by 1 position. And 4th place, I had an absolute mare as well. I got the East Midlands sides way wrong. I predicted Forest to finish 4th place. I think I must have got this attitude that Sabri Nomucci was going to find a way to pick his squad up and to really go at the championship this year. Just the embarrassment of falling out of the top 6 on the final day after being there since November in the year before. But obviously, they had the direct contrast, a playoff hangover, and they completely struggled for points. They were bottom of the table for quite a fair bit of the season. Sabri Nomucci was sacked, Chris Hughton was brought in, and even with his philosophy, it wasn't smooth sailing, but ultimately he got Nottingham Forest to play a different style of football, more organised, and ultimately he got them to finish relatively safe in around mid-February time. But a very disappointing season compared to what Forest had last year. We've now made it to the top 3. Now, I've got the top 3 teams spot on, but not in the correct position. I got Norwich, the runaway leaders, to finish 3rd place. It was so annoying because I felt like I changed my mind last minute, but I couldn't change the graphic. Of course, I had to get the video out as soon as I can. Otherwise, my predictions were going to be submitted during the season. That would have been cheating. So Norwich 3rd, my reason at the time, I saw them a bit in the Premier League and I thought defensively they were quite shambolic. I thought it was going to take them a little bit of time to pick themselves up again. But I said it, they prepared for this season even when they were in the bloody Premier League. And the transfers they got in, they got Oliver Skip. I mean, that in itself should have got me all the confidence that they were going to at least get automatically promoted. Why I didn't back it, I don't know. But it's the 2nd year running where I predicted the champions to not even get automatically promoted and finish 3rd. There's a trend going on. So next table predictions video, whoever finished 3rd, put your money on for them winning the championship, I'll tell you that. So, in terms of the top 2, I've got Brentford to finish 2nd. Of course, they finished 3rd. I knew that they were going to lose at least Watkins and Ben Rama. Of course, they did lose both of them at the end. But I still thought with that squad, I thought they were going to do something similar to what I thought that Forest were going to do and have a real good intent and effort in the championship and just to attack the league, just to really try and make cause of loss due in terms of not getting promoted via the playoffs. Almost like what Leeds did the year before. But unfortunately, that didn't happen with Brentford. Despite going unbeaten for 21 games, when they did get beat, they went through a pretty dire run of form and they just picked up their form way too late into the season. By that time, Watford bridged a gap too big for them. And finally, I predicted Watford to win the championship. They finished 2nd. Not the worst prediction, but ultimately I should have predicted Norwich to win from the start. I think I didn't want to be boring because I think a lot of people were predicting Norwich to win. So I wanted to do a pretty different prediction, but from now on, I'm going to be as boring as I can and predict what everyone else predicts. Because clearly, if I try and predict and be different, it's not going to work. Only one correct position is appalling for me. And with Watford as well, I think with Ivic, the way he set Watford up, you know, being very defensive, quite pragmatic, I thought they were going to stubbornly get results. But ultimately, they struggled to get goals in the other end of the pitch and scoring goals. Obviously, Munoz came in where Watford was starting to pretty much solidify their place in the playoff place, but lose touch on promotion. Since Munoz come in, no one has picked up more points than Watford, and obviously, no one's picked up more wins than Watford as well. So you've got to give Xisco Munoz some huge amount of credit. He managed to get Watford promoted on 91 points as well. So, to summarise again, only one correct position, which was Rotherham. I'm so disappointed. So I've matched my performance from last year. I'm so gutted at that. But actually, to take inspiration of Spencer Owen, because he does this as well, I've calculated the amount of points I've amassed on both tables. The less points you have, the better your performance has done. I calculated the points I amassed from last year, which was 116. Not great, isn't it? The amount of points I got this year was an improvement. I got 108 points. So there's been an 8-point improvement from last year. So any bit of improvement I'm going to take at this rate. I think for next year, I'm going to strive and get for less than 100 points. Before I end the video, I'm going to look at your guys' comments and see what you guys have predicted in the championship. So Tobias Farah predicted the whole championship. So looking at the positions already, I'm just reading them one by one. He got Birmingham right, so well done. He managed to get Birmingham right. He got Millwall right, so that's another one right. I think everyone predicted Derby and Forest too high, unfortunately for us. So he actually got 2 correct positions, which is 1 more than me. I swear, if everyone's done better than me, then maybe all of you should take over from me, because clearly you can do a better job. So here's Alfie's predictions. So Sheffield Wednesday bottom, he got spot on, and I could tell he's not edited this as well. Swansea 4th, that's correct. So another one who's got more correct positions than me. Brentford 3rd, that's also right, so he got 3. Oh, this is not looking good for me, isn't it? This is Luke's prediction. So in the bottom 3, he got Rotherham spot on, likewise with me. So that is 1 correct position. So he got Rotherham and Norwich right, and that's 2 correct positions, which is still better than me. The final comment on YouTube, let's go to Joshua Jones's one. So he got Rotherham to finish 23rd, which is correct as well. So he got Blackburn right. He got Blackburn to finish bang on 15th place as well. He got Swansea 4th as well. That's 3 correct positions already. And Norwich to win. That's 4 correct positions. Everyone in the sodding comments has done better than me this year. This is not looking good for my reputation, isn't it? Got a couple more predictions. This is on the exclusive Discord server, which if you do want to join, it is the top link of the description down below. It's the best way to get in contact with me. So this is Charlie Brown's prediction. So he predicted Norwich to win. That's already 1 correct position. Brentford, Watford, Swansea 4th. That's correct. So already have done better than me with only 4 positions. Bournemouth, then Forest, Cardiff 7, Blackburn, Bristol City, Birmingham. Not great in the end, isn't it? But he's already got 2 correct positions. Bottom parts. So he got Wickham, Barnsley, Rotherham, Sheffield Wednesday, Luton, Middlesbrough, Coventry, 17th Stoke, not bad, but not quite. 16th QPR, Huddersfield, Reading, Millwall, Preston, Derby. Okay, so the bottom half of the table we didn't do that well with. But to be fair, top 6 he's done quite well. He's got 2 correct positions, which is more than me, and that's surely what matters. And just to be a little bit different, this is Owen Armitage's predictions, which he actually written out himself. And he's made it very, very clear, actually, in terms of what predictions he's got right. And I can already see he has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 correct positions. How has everyone done better than me this year? I'm so irritated by that. Now, to save myself from any more pain, I'm going to finally look at my final table as well, which I did in and around with 10 games left from each side. So if you notice here, I've not got the bottom 3 right in their correct positions. I've got 2 of the bottom 3 spot on there. Huddersfield I got right. They finished 20th place in the end. I got Nottingham Forest right. They finished 17th in the end of the season. I've been so close with teams. Preston I got right. They finished 13th. So that's already 3 correct positions by me. God, I got so close with a lot of these teams, actually. Look at Middlesbrough. I got so close with them. Reading, Cardiff I got the wrong way round as well. Barnsley and Bournemouth I got the wrong way round as well. Brentford 3rd is a correct position. And look at that, Norwich to win. So I've got 5 correct positions in my final championship table. So at least I've got a bit of pride in that sense. But I'm going to do another table predictions video tomorrow. And this one you will not want to miss, because this video in itself has taken me over 3 days to prepare. So if you guys have done better than me in predictions this year, please make sure you do give this video a like and tell me what has been your best and worst predictions. All of that would really, really make my day. Let's go for 20 likes in this video. Please share this channel to as many people as you can. They may laugh at me for how bad I am at predictions, so go for it. And please subscribe to the channel if you're new out here. I promise you, I'll do much better predictions. But thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary if you saw the end of this video. And as always, take care, everyone. Gosh, I'm glad that's over.